reconvening the hearing 11 for infrastructure, renewable energy, transport and designations. And I think, do you know, I'm Bill Smith on the chair, Steve McNally, who's a councillor but also independent commissioner, and Alan Watson, who's commissioner. And we have Sharon Hines from Transpower.
Yes.
Yep. Right. Well, it's over to you.
Over to me. So, well, thank you for having us. And first of all, I'd like to apologise that I'm here by myself. Rebecca, being my colleague and client at Transpower, is horribly sick, and I wouldn't want to be here. I wouldn't want to be in the same room with her based on how she sounded yesterday. So what I thought, I've prepared evidence and reviewed the Section 42A report, and I think you will have that in front of you. I don't intend to go through that in any detail, but what I wondered was whether or not it might be helpful to just do a quick recap of kind of Transpower's reason for being here, and then if you ask me any questions you have, would that be a good way to proceed?
Yep, by all means. I'd just like to comment on paragraph 11. You thank the staff for doing the collaboration of them and having the meetings.
Yes.
And I would just like to say thank you for you also for participating, because it makes hopefully the process a lot smoother and easier, and we get better decisions.
Yes.
Thank you to you and your team.
Yeah, no, and I'd like to thank the staff of James as well. It was a very productive process.
And just to show that we've read your evidence, I was quite impressed with the header, which talks about this being a session on earthworks, light and noise science, temporary activities and GMOs.
Thanks, sir. Okay.
I'd just like to check on your mental well-being. But you carry on, it's all good.
The colour of my face, probably.
No, you look
How I'm
fine.
feeling right now.
You look
Right. Excuse me. So obviously Transpower owns and operates the national grid. In the far north, that's one line, which is a 110 kV line that goes from the traverses the district from the southern boundary up to Kaitāia, where it enters a substation that's owned by Top Energy. So at the present time, there's no the transmission facilities planned by Transpower in the far north, but the need to build new facilities cannot be ruled out over the life of the proposed district plan, as the government and industry and business electrify the economy in response to climate change and all of those sorts of things. New facilities, if they were to be required, would be authorised by way of resource consent or designations. So Transpower is therefore particularly interested in the policy framework that is in the far north, that they will be judged against, or decision makers will assess their proposals against if they do come to fruition. And in particular, they're very concerned to ensure that that appropriately has effect in use for electricity transmission and in the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement, and that it appropriately addresses the conflict between them and ensures that that is resolved in the district plan. And then in addition to that, Transpower needs to ensure that the effect of other activities, particularly sensitive activities on the grid, are appropriately managed to ensure that the operation of the grid is not compromised. And so in regard to those existing activities, their interests primarily relate to activities in the National Grid Yard and the National Grid Subdivision. And the idea is to ensure that they can maintain access and then avoid sensitive activities being in close proximity to the conductors, so that there is no potential for health and safety effects on sensitive activity or people and animals that are underneath the lines. So having said that, as we said at the outset, you know, it was really, really pleasing to be able to work with staff, to be able to work on the provisions. And we've got to a point where, other than I think 2-3 minor errors, Transpower is happy, and I think that the provisions do achieve of those things for Transpower. So their activities, new activities will be enabled if they do come to fruition in this area. I think personally that's very important because it's a very narrow isthmus and there is a lot of coast and there is a lot of Indigenous biodiversity. And so if we were to seek authorisations for facilities in the area, we need to navigate those things quite carefully. And so I think it's important that the district plan does that. And I think we've achieved that, which is good. And then the activities in the National Grid Yard and the subdivision yard have been addressed as well. So that's all I had to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said at the start you've got 120 kV line?
110 kV.
110. Okay. That
there is-
runs from Kaitāia to Kaitāia, did you say?
From the southern boundary of the district
Southern boundary, okay.
up to Kaitāia.
Or to Kaitāia, okay.
Yes. So in Transpower's submission, there's a figure at the back. The last page shows.
That's right, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
find it, yeah.
I can provide that again. I just actually.
I think I've seen it on the screen earlier.
Yeah,
today.
yeah. So what's the difference, your difference between your 110 kV line and Top Energy? Is there any reason why they own them and you don't?
I believe that the 110 kV line that Top Energy owns used to be owned by Transpower.
Right,
And at some point,
I think I remember that now.
years ago, people who are far smarter than me decided that Top Energy should own it instead of Transpower. So, and because of that, because it's not owned by Transpower, it's not part of the National Grid. But it used to be, and that's associated with ownership. So,
Okay. And do you know whether any of the Top Energy 33 kV lines run off your 110 kV line, or do you?
they will, so this is getting slightly into Transpower territory rather than planning territory, but.
Ah, okay, sorry, yeah.
But, well, my understanding, Ozura, is that you can't physically connect the lines together without a substation.
Right,
So the 33 kV lines have to.
go via a substation from the
Because
110.
the substation has the transformers that
okay,
steps
yeah,
down the power to the right.
Okay. Have you got any questions?
I just those minor amendments you want, Sharon, I think it was paragraphs 14 and 15.
Yeah,
That's what you just referred to a few moments ago.
yes,
A couple of changes being needed.
yeah, and they're just syntax errors, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that sets out accurately what, those four matters are, or the four themes.
Yeah.
And, so that conferencing sorted out things pretty well.
Very well, yes.
Yeah. So why did Mr. Badham have provide us with about 20 pages of things he disagreed with? We have.
I'm not going to say anything.
He's representing different client, Mr.
Yeah. I should have picked that.
Mr. McNally, any questions?
Yeah, the same one, setback from the corridor. You've got a grid setback and a subdivision setback.
Yes,
So is this, but the subdivision, I think this is you, National Equipment Corridor, could be 14, 32, 37 or 39, depending on the line voltage.
yes. So we have amended that the definition, which is in the section 42A report, to reflect the actual facilities as they exist in the National Grid and in the funnels now. So I think there's been a minor amendment. And it's only the one. So
That's just the 32 metre setback
Yeah.
from 110 kV lines.
and that's the subdivision corridor, the 32 metres. And so what the rule allows for is for subdivision to occur, but it doesn't allow a building platform to be located under the lines.
Yeah. So those corridors already set off with, I mean, you can put your lines wherever you like, really.
So they're mapped.
And do they have easements associated?
Yes, the existing ones do. So if Transpower were to build a new line, they would seek a designation for the line and an easement over the land. So they could seek the designation without landowner approval, but they wouldn't be able to have access.
So under the Act, then that easement, you'd have a number of restrictions on land use under there anyway, under and alongside.
In the easements, that's in territory that I'm a little unsure about, I'm sorry, and I can go back and ask.
Jerome may well know it all. So, he's been pretty. I'm just thinking, are we duplicating by doing this mapping, and what are we trying to protect in addition to what's already there under the Act and different
So
easements, etc.
So at the moment, the underlying land can be owned by another party, and they could seek to build a house under there. Seek a resource consent to build a house, and that would put a sensitive activity, a new house would put a sensitive activity under the lines, which could cause the hazards.
I thought that was sort of covered off by the Act as well.
I guess in my understanding of those that these national grid yard rules have been developed over numerous years in a bit of the FNDC, so largely been agreed with federated farmers. Rules, yes, they've been quite significant. I'm receiving the rules. So my understanding, they were largely supportive of the notified rules.
So I think my understanding of the easements when I've come up with them previously is that strictly for property matters as opposed to trying to manage sensitivity and conductor sensitivity as well. So managing different things is my understanding.
If you would like, I can get Ms. Ian to provide some commentary on that.
Yeah. You know, my background, I was a valuer for a while and did, what do you call them?
Valuation.
Compensation
Yes.
stuff for lines going through property. And, you know, a lot of the restrictions are very clear when you do that. You can no longer, like even down to a maize crop, in some places you can't go them in case they've got to travel underneath it to, or if the power company went in there to just to check or repair a line, any damage to the property is hard luck. You've already been compensated for it, or put in the right of way through it, or the easement through it. So that's why I thought there's a whole lot of stuff covered off by the Act, but things may have progressed since I was doing that.
And which Act are you referring to?
What's the main one? There's the electricity, there's the transmission line, there's all sorts of. But when you go in, if you end up Public Works Act, then a whole lot of that stuff's covered off. There's multiple acts that cover this type of power lines.
Look, I think it's probably
Water supply.
for me to get Ms. Ian to answer that.
Yeah, no, that's good.
If you,
But your line's a part of the national grid, isn't it? So we have to protect it from higher up documents.
yes.
So I don't think we've got an option, have we? With your line, I mean, it's different.
I guess my question is, do the higher up documents already give that protection?
No,
under
because
the
they're not shown in the district plan.
Say directly, that's given a feed to through district plans, we give them specific rules that feed to that
Yeah,
national policy direction.
because the higher up documents wouldn't have them probably mapped, and we've got to put, that wouldn't refer to their use, whether it's restricted, discretionary or controlled or anything like that. So, yeah, so anyway.
Policy documents and rules.
What was that, sorry?
There's no national environmental standard for the situation that specifies exactly what we have to do. It's direction. Policy statement.
Is there a do nothing clause?
Well, there is, as Jerome has mentioned, there's been a lot of conversations between the different parties.
Yeah.
Years as to how to apply the national policy statement.
Yeah, I see federal farmers and different groups of commentary.
It should be consistent throughout the country, shouldn't it?
Well, and that is what Transpower is seeking to achieve, that the rules is close to the same for everybody.
So those additions that you've got in red there, those agreed, aren't they? Have you agreed with those with the officers?
No, I've
Track
talked
changes?
I've talked to Jerome about one of them. There was an error with the subdivision rule where the activity status were not meeting the standards was going to be non-compliant. And I haven't specifically talked to Jerome about those two that are in there, but they are effectively syntax errors. One makes reference to a clause to a clause D, which doesn't exist. And I think it should be a reference to clause 4. And then in two different places, we've got operational needs and functional needs. And in another place, we've got an operational need and a functional need without an S.
Right, yeah. Yeah, appreciate that. But where you've got all those changes highlighted in red, are they taken from guidance from the national policy document, or
I think you're looking at,
that's your attachment 1?
oh, sorry, my attachment 1. So those are all of our individual, all of Transpower's individual submission points and what they sought. And then, so that's in the left-hand column, those are the changes that were sought. And then obviously we've moved on from that. And we're into the right-hand column, the far right-hand column. And so the response in the far right-hand column is my response to what Mr. White's put in the section.
Yeah, and that's consistent with what you've got in your
Yes.
response. Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. So we proposed some things, and then through the process we've moved them around and changed the wording.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I guess my commentary was around property rights, so existing use, land use change, for instance. And I get the setback. That's why I thought a lot of it's already set up in the existing. You can't plant pine trees, for instance, within a ball zone and things like that.
So there's no restrictions, I don't think, in the plan about planting under the lines, except that you have to comply with the NZECP, which is is about trees.
And that's what I was getting at. There's all sorts of other things that
Yeah, so
restrict
where,
activities.
yeah, so where those are, that they are referred to in the district plan as well.
Yeah, I'm just talking from a property rights point of view, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about it tomorrow.
From
Number of submitters.
I don't think your line goes through Aramahoe, does it?
no,
Different.
that's top.
It's affecting the top energy,
Yes.
33 kV line.
So federated farmers in New Zealand haven't produced evidence in relation to this, in relation to the national grid.
Anything else?
No, that's good. Thanks. Yeah.
Good. Any points of clarification from the staff? Are you all right? No? James? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Fairly straightforward, and I think that work that a lot of you did worked out well, I think. So we will have a short adjournment, and then will the staff do a little bit of a verbal reply, and then your written reply will be when? Or not a reply, but any comments or issues you want to discuss. Is that what you're going to do? Or do you just want to have an adjournment and then you'll do your reply in writing?
No, so, Mr. Chair, as we have our tradition, really, as we kind of hear what's on the front of your mind, and we perhaps suggest additional matters that might be useful to you.
From today, or should we leave that till after tomorrow?
I think it's best to do that.
So leave it till tomorrow. Okay. Right. So we'll have an adjournment. Thank you very much, and safe travel back.
Thank you.
Hope you get through.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
You
Okay.
go back to Whangarei, or
No, Kiri.
all right.
Flew to Kiri. All right. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we're just going to close the meeting with a karakia.
Here, ki te uru tapunui, ki wātia, ki maimai, ki te nākau, te tinana, te wairoa, ki te ara takatu, ki ko i romo akaria aki i runga ki China hui e tāki.
Thank
Thank you. Stop the
you very
recording.
much.